President Trump says the U.S. bombed a boat allegedly carrying illegal drugs from Venezuela. You've likely seen this video on your social media feeds today. 11 are dead in the first known operation since the Trump administration's recent deployment of the warships to the southern Caribbean. Here's a closer look of the video of that strike. Watch this. The boat's moving on the water and then boom, it's a direct hit. President Trump posted that to social media. He described the boat as a drug vessel. He also warned other countries against trying to bring drugs into the United States. Now, CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie Daggett live for us in Washington. Charlie, what assurances do we have and what proof do we have that this was actually a Venezuelan drug boat?
It's a good question. You know, we're waiting for those answers. We don't have what drugs were on that ship or on that boat. I know that the statement was 11 individuals were killed. Not exactly sure about the direction. There are even questions about the legality of the strike in terms of rules of engagement and in extrajudicial killings. The Venezuelans haven't put up any hard evidence of their claim that it was AI, aside from saying that they ran a screenshot by Google's Gemini chatbot that concluded that the video may have been AI generated. So there have been other AI detectors that we use at CBS and other publications and broadcasts use. And they say the length of those images, the fact there are several different angles, which I think you just showed of the strike, they match frame or frame match. They suggest that they would have been difficult, not impossible, to create, as we all know how far artificial intelligence has come. But Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth dismissed those claims today in an interview with Fox and Friends, and here's what he had to say.
That was definitely not artificial intelligence. I watched it live. We knew exactly who was in that boat. We knew exactly what they were doing, and we knew exactly who they represented. And that was Tren de Aragua, a narco-terrorist organization designated by the United States, trying to poison our country with illicit drugs.
And as I said, you know, the legalities of what they're looking into now, the rules of engagement, what we're looking into now, rules of engagement and whether use of force amounts to extrajudicial arbitrary killing. Pete Hegseth went further today because there's also questions as to what's the concept of this mission, whether it is drug interdiction or if they're looking for a sort of regime change. And he said, we put the weapons and the pieces in place, and that is a White House decision.
Venezuela. Can you give us a sense of what the U.S. policy or what you're trying to achieve with the aircraft carriers or the boats, I should say, in near Venezuela, and also the boat that you mentioned yesterday where 11 people were killed? What was found on that boat, and why were the men killed instead of taken into
on the boat? You had massive amounts of drugs. We have tapes of them speaking. It was massive amounts of drugs coming into our country to kill a lot of people. And everybody fully understands that. In fact, you see it. You see the bags of drugs all over the boat. And they were hit. Obviously, they won't be doing it again. And I think a lot of other people won't be doing it again when they watch that tape. They're going to say, let's not do this. We have to protect our country, and we're going to. Venezuela's been a very bad actor. They've been, as you know, they've been sending millions of people into our country, many of them Tren de Aragua, some of the worst gangs, some of the worst people anywhere in the world in terms of gangs. And we had some in Washington, D.C. We took care of them very quickly, but they're out of here. They've gone. But Venezuela's been very bad, both in terms of drugs and sending some of the worst criminals anywhere in the world into our country. They emptied out, you don't know this, but they emptied out their prisons in Venezuela, and they emptied them out into the United States of America. And that's part of the problem we have. We're getting them out. We're getting them out rapidly. But it's caused a tremendous problem. And Pete and all of the people that are working very hard to rectify the stupidity of the Biden administration, allowing these people to pour into our country with open borders. We are paying a big price as a country for the incompetence of the Biden administration. But think of it, opened up prisons, drug dealers, drug lords, everything coming out of Venezuela. They said, and we said, we're not going to put up with it anymore. So Venezuela has been one of the worst actors in the whole group, and we have a group of pretty bad actors.
Let's bring in CBS News chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes. And Nancy, thanks for being with us today. The president there discussing a slew of issues in that meeting, including yesterday's strike on a boat that he says was carrying drugs to the U.S. from Venezuela. So what more are we learning about that operation and who was targeted?
Well, according to the president, there were 11 people on board who he described as narco-terrorists, cartel members from Venezuela who are part of a gang that has been designated by the Trump administration as a foreign terrorist organization. This boat was headed from Venezuela through the Caribbean, and White House officials say its eventual destination was likely the United States. It was struck by some kind of U.S. aircraft. All 11 people on board perished, and this morning, the Defense Secretary warned that the U.S. will carry out strikes like this again if Venezuela continues to send narcotics to the U.S.